So imagine, if you will, a hill walker or a mountain walker in a temperate climate. Think of the climate being about 6 to 10 degrees Celsius in temperature, so not freezing but just above. Now think of that environment as being light and breezy and definitely going to be wet. So how would you feel about that hill walker if they went out with just a jacket on and just a fleece on? And how prepared would they be if they were going into an environment that was 4 or 5 hours from the nearest entry or exit point for somebody on foot, or maybe 10, 15 or 20 hours for an emergency team to go and get them? So what kind of things would we expect a hill walker or mountain walker to carry with them? I would suggest they would have a hat, gloves, emergency kit, map, spare food, some food, drink, probably a hot drink, and of course a first aid kit, and hopefully some kind of survival system with them. And if that hill walker went into that environment without that equipment, how do we feel about them in terms of their preparation and provision for self-care? We probably wouldn't rate them that highly. So the question is, if people are expected to look after themselves on a hill walk in the mountains, why is it they don't do it in places like this? The first thing I need to be aware of is when I'm caving, I've got to be able to have access to an emergency light quickly and simply. So if the main light has gone down on my helmet and I'm doing right work, I can't be messing around inside the bags that I've got with me to pull a spare light out. So I need to be able to just put on spare lights to immediately see what I'm doing, that are tough and waterproof. And I have a couple of those on the side of my helmet. Instant access. I also carry one sometimes around my neck, depending on what I'm doing, or sometimes in a spare tackle bag that is a caving lamp that's equal to any caving lamp on the trip that will get me out of the cave. So instant access to your caving lamp as a spare is essential. The other thing you need to have on you as well is an emergency kit. And here's where I carry mine most of the time. I carry that on me. And inside that I'm going to go through the contents of all the things you might need in a personal emergency caving incident. This is not a group kit. This is something just to deal with things that might happen to you as a caver. And you might be able to combine these equipments with the rest of the team to deal with a major incident if you have to. So what do I carry inside my personal emergency first aid kit or emergency overnight kit? Not a lot, and let's just go through the simple items that I carry. So the first thing is I've got my helmet with my spare lights on, which we've already talked about. And inside my helmet, or you can carry it inside your suit, wherever you like, I've got a warm hat. Because I'm going to lose a lot of heat through my head, and I'm going to lose a lot of heat through my face. So I can wrap up snug as a bug, and all the heat from my breath will heat my face up, and my head will be insulated with my hat. I'm also insulating my backside because I'm sat on a tackle bag. That's a lot more comfortable and a lot warmer than sitting on the floor. So what else have I got with me? Well, here's my personal first aid kit and emergency kit that I carry on me. As you can see, it's really not much. So let's have a look at what we've got inside this small bag, and then I'm going to show you the individual contents. Everything is double or treble bagged, so that if there is a leak, not all of it gets lost in one go. So that's what I carry on me. What I've done is I've brought with me the bits and pieces individually, and I've put them in a more accessible pot so I can take them out and show you. So the first thing I'm going to show you is I always carry a drink when I'm on a big trip. If the trip's over 4 hours long, I will have a drink on me, preferably a hot drink in a flask. You dehydrate, your performance is going to drop significantly. If you get cold, then the thing you're going to want first is a hot, sweet drink. So top tip would be get yourself a flask, wrap it in some kind of bubble wrap, or maybe a carry mat or a sleep wrap, and then zip it up, and it should be fine and be protected from impact. So definitely get yourself a hot drink. Think about it, you wouldn't work at office all day long or work in a factory all day long and go for 4 hours or 5 hours without a drink. And you certainly have access to one. So why would you do it on a caving trip? So, what else do I carry?
Well, I'm also going to carry a spare battery for my main light, because my main light might just blow, it might just because the battery didn't charge overnight, and I prefer to cave on my main light and my spare lights, so I'll carry a spare battery. Also, what else am I going to carry? I'm going to carry some lunch, okay? Depends on the type of trip that I'm going on to what type of lunch with me. If it's just a short little trip for a few hours, I'll take just a few chocolate bars. But if it's a bigger trip, maybe 14, 15 hours long, I'll take some hearty food. Maybe not sandwiches, but something like a decent pie or something with a lot of fat in, a lot of cheese in, maybe some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, something like that to give me a bit more of an energy boost that burns a long period of time than just a sugary chocolate bar. Take a couple more chocolate bars for other people in the team as well. They might be knackered and they might have forgotten their lunch. I'm also a great believer in keeping yourself warm and other people warm. So I take a spare hat. Spare hat is the way forward. If your hat gets wet, then a dry one is such a godsend. So take a spare hat. Again, you can give it to someone else if they're having a bad day. What other things have we got? Well, I tend to view caving first aid as battlefield first aid. It's not there to look pretty, it's there to just plug holes and keep that wound from getting worse. So I quite literally take battlefield first aid dressings. I go down to the local Army Navy store and buy battlefield first aid dressings, which are basically just great big blood drinking dressings. They just soak the blood up and cover the wound. And of course they're wrapped up and in plastic bags. Plastic bags have been plastic bags and plastic bags. You're noticing a theme. First aid underground is about plugging holes. What else have I got? I've got some spare batteries for my spare lights. So each individual light takes a different type of battery, and I've got enough there to charge each battery up, so each light up twice. So within that little packet there, I've got 24 to 50 hours of lighting, depending on what level I've got my lighting set up. And that's pretty good, because I might be flooded into a cave for 24 to 50 hours, and I'd kind of like to have the light on for most of that period of time to make me feel happy. But of course I could turn it off, but I'd rather have the light. What else have I got? If I'm going to be flooded into a cave for a long period of time, I'm going to be losing a lot of heat. Losing it through my backside, losing it through my head, losing it through my face. So I need to conserve as much heat as I possibly can. So one of the things I would advocate you carry is an emergency shelter, which you have to look around for these in little shops these days. And this is quite simply just a big plastic bag. It's a person-sized plastic bag. You get in it a bit like a gigantic plastic duvet cover. That's the best way I can describe it. And of course that acts like a layer of double glazing all the way around you. It's a greenhouse effect. So when you're inside that plastic bag, it stops the convection of all that warm air away from your body and traps it closer to you. And these cost just a few pounds. If you're really lucky, you can dig them out and find them for about £15, $30, and they've got reflective aluminium glaze all the way around the bag, which will put even more infrared heat back towards your body. So, what else? I've got another heat source as well. I've got some candles, and I've got some waterproof matches. The candles are not to illuminate the cave. I've got enough light with LED lights. They should burn for hours and hours and hours. But what this is to actually heat the environment I'm going to be in. And it's not to heat the cave, it's too big to heat with a candle. What I can do is put the candle inside, very carefully, inside the emergency bag that I'm in, and just cradle over the candle, and that will trap the hot air within the bag and raise the internal temperature of the bag by a few degrees, making you much more comfortable, so you're not in such a hypothermic, sorry state when the emergency team come and get you out. What else have we got? Well, if I'm going to be spending a long time underground, maybe over a day, then I'm going to need to drink. If I don't drink, I'm going to be dehydrated. We've already said that if you lose a lot of body water, then your performance drops big time. So I can't drink the cave water as it is. It's polluted with all kinds of effluents, but I can drink it if I put high levels of chlorine in. So if I get myself some chlorine dioxide or chlorine tablets from the local outdoor pursuit shop, or maybe the survival shop, then I can look at how many levels of chlorine tablet I should put per litre, and I can put that in my drinking flask, and it's going to taste like a swimming pool, but I can drink it. And that's the most important thing. You've got to keep yourself wet, and keep yourself fed, and keep yourself warm. Pretty grim sometimes the things we have to do, but chlorine tablets, I would definitely recommend you carry a couple of those on you. Also, an essential piece of kit these days, if you go anywhere without gaffer tape, or duct tape as it's called sometimes, you must be crazy. This stuff is wonderful. You can fix kit, you can fix all kinds of things, you can even fix people with it. It's, think of it as medical tape, or think of it as equipment fixing tape. If I've got an open wound on my leg, I can put a dressing on it and gaffer tape that on, even in a fairly wet environment. I can even use some of the plastic bags that I'm carrying to put over the dressing, and then gaffer tape that plastic bag over the dressing to keep the dressing dry and protected. So gaffer tape is the way forward. You can create little splints with fingers, and you can, well, it's up to you. Your imagination will be the benefit of you with gaffer tape. So use gaffer tape as much as possible. The other thing I want to recommend is don't just take enough lunch for the day. If you're going on a big trip, even if it's a short trip, just take a little bit of lunch. But if you're going on a trip that might be 10, 15, 20 hours long, then take some extra food with you. And that all depends on what you're going to carry. Here's one out of the left field. I would recommend you carry something like marzipan. It's not the kind of thing you're going to nibble when you feel like it. You won't just tuck into marzipan. But it carries, in that block there, about 1,000 calories in that one block. So that's a lot of energy, and it's slow release energy. It's got a lot of sugar in, which will give you an instant kick, but it's also got a lot of fat in as well, which will burn for a long period of time. So what have I got? I got some extra calories, over 1,000 calories. I got something to patch holes in bodies and kick with. I got something to insulate myself from convection, from heat loss. I got some bits and pieces to plug holes in if I accidentally cause myself an injury. I got a hat, which is going to keep the heat inside my head, because my brain works much better when it's warm. A spare hat for maybe other members of the group. Some lunch for the trip. I've got a spare light, a spare battery for my main light. And of course, then I've got some spare batteries for my backup lights. And of course, I've got my little candles and emergency matches there to get me out of jail for free. So there's the spare candles as well. Couple that with a drink, and I should be able to deal with that in situation. So you need to ask yourself, why are people going on caving trips without this stuff on them? You're in an environment where the rescue is hours and hours and hours away. The average length for a rescue in a cave, somewhere that's easy and simple, can be 5 or 6 hours for the simplest of cave that could take 5 minutes to walk out of. Cave rescue is a nightmare. So make sure you carry the kit on you to deal with entrapment due to flooding or entrapment due to somebody being injured within the group. And carry enough equipment to deal with that injury. Those small first aid kits for personal aches and sprains and little holes in our bodies, they're great. If everybody combines those first aid kits together, then you have a big first aid kit to deal with a major incident. So a team of 4 and one person has a major incident, that team can combine their first aid kits and deal with the incident. They also have their survival kits to deal with the incident and then survive themselves until the rescue team gets there. So there you go, carry some stuff underground and drop me a line if you want any more questions.